Wine and Crime contains graphic and explicit content which may not be suitable for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Very important announcement! We have an upcoming live stream! Join us on Saturday, April 1st for a virtual slumber party with your gals. Presented by Moment House. And no, this is not an April Fool's joke. This is real.
This is real, people.
We are going live at 7 p.m. Central from literally my couch in our jammies with all of our Squishmallows, all of the snacks.
Yes. I ordered special jammies. They may or may not have feathers.
Oh.
And this is not going to be your average live stream, people. We have lots of surprises in store for you, from games to sheet masks. You know we love some skincare. To our hot takes on a recent true crime case that you have all been clamoring for. You are not going to want to miss this.
Absolutely not. Purchase of a ticket also gives you access to a replay of the stream, so you can still join in on the fun, even if you, for some reason, have plans that night, or if you want to watch it again, because it's going to be a frickin' blast.
It's going to be that good.
It's going to be that good. So head to wineandcrimepodcast.com for more information and to snag your tickets, and we will see you on Saturday, April 1st.
For our slumber party with the Wine Coven. Come on, get cozy with us. You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Oh, yeah.
And uncover silly sunglasses that they found while looking for scissors.
Yeah, we're all just
I had some silly sunglasses around.
Yeah, we're having a silly time.
I am going to stop wearing them, though, because I'm paranoid that listeners watching the video episodes can see the reflection of my
games you're
What's
playing.
What's on your screen.
What's on my screen.
All the pornography.
All the porn you have in that other
porn.
tab. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of porn in another tab, who are you?
Oh, I'm Kenyon.
I'm Lucy.
I'm Amanda.
We did not introduce ourselves in the last episode.
No, honey.
Yeah, people know by now.
Yeah, whatever. Who cares?
All right. Well, we have a very special gals pick this week, brought to you mainly by Lucy,
Yeah.
I would say.
Well, it happened on air during a previous episode where we were talking about
We've
this
definitely
topic.
mentioned this more than one time. And I know that I've also talked about how I love to watch these YouTube videos of them being pulled over.
Oh, and Kenyon didn't know what it was. That's why
Yeah.
it came out. We were like, what? We have got to talk about this. 'Cause it's fucking
I
bonkers.
Definitely learned on this show what it was.
Yeah.
And you will not love video of my guys getting pulled over in my case. And we will get to it.
Great.
I have a feeling I know exactly who you did.
So the topic is sovereign citizen crimes. So these
Yes.
fucking asshats.
Those guys.
Those,
Fucking losers.
you know the type.
Yeah.
So let's lube up. Amanda, what is our wine crime pairing for sovereign citizen crimes?
Yo, I am keeping it simple, stupid.
Ooh, that
with
looks
it's a grapefruit mimosa because I had an open bottle of sparkling from yesterday that I wanted to finish. So I don't really have much to say about it other than there are some interesting health benefits that can be connected to eating grapefruit and drinking grapefruit juice, including a possible link to preventing insulin resistance and diabetes, which is really exciting.
Rare for juice.
But you're not supposed to drink it in some cases, right?
And
If
so
you
when you're
take-
taking certain medications, you're not. They don't combine well. But in general,
If you're not on Zoloft, you
right.
can drink
Wait,
it. You
am on
You should
Zoloft.
not.
me?
Yeah.
Why?
It's very seriously interacts with Zoloft and renders it not useful. And I also was skeptical and definitely was like drinking it and whatever. But then I Googled it and it's like for realsies, legit, you shouldn't. But it's fine.
Well,
One glass.
too late. I love grapefruit juice and I drink it all the time. So it also has links to benefiting your immune system because it's extremely high in vitamin C and antioxidants. And, let's see if there's one more. Oh, it can improve your heart health because it helps lower cholesterol.
Is there a health difference between like ruby red and like a white grapefruit? Because I love a white grapefruit.
I don't know if there are differences necessarily between those two, but
It's more about
certainly
sugar content.
it's more about sugar content if it's like from concentrate. Like the purer the grapefruit juice, the more like eating a grapefruit it is. And the more health
tart
benefits
it is. Because the
Sure.
ruby red, like an ocean spray ruby red, disgusting, I think.
I never
Too
buy
sugary.
that. I just get the simply grapefruit. That's my fave. Anyway,
okay.
that's what I'm drinking. Cheers.
Okay.
Grapefruit would go well in my cocktail. Is that what you were just about to say, Kenyon?
No.
Oh.
Grapefruit and sertraline, also known as Zoloft, can have a concerning combined effect if not monitored. Older research suggests that eating grapefruit while on sertraline can lead to too much sertraline in the blood due to grapefruit blocking the enzymes needed for metabolism, and this can cause dizziness or drowsiness.
I don't think I'm eating that much grapefruit, so I'm
You're
going to
fine.
go ahead and say I'm fine. Anyway, cheers.
Cheers!
I got a vodka ginger, which would be great with some grapefruit.
Yum.
that
That would
sounds
be
right.
really good with some grapefruit.
And Kenyon, I got this glass in Louisville.
Oh, look at that.
So
Isn't she
cute.
pretty?
She's cute.
All right. Well, cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
I'll probably drink from my case, but I just have water right now.
I get it.
Okay, Lucy, what is our background and hopefully psych
Yikes.
for sovereign citizen crimes?
I don't have any psych because it's really widespread. Anyway, but I do have a lot of information, so I'm going to try to cruise, okay?
Okay.
Yep.
So this is from Wikipedia. The sovereign citizen movement, also known as SovCit or
Ick.
SovCits, gross,
As in can't find a clit to save their lives.
sits back, yes.
As in, if I don't sit on this donut, my hemorrhoids are going to explode.
Right.
Hey, we've all been there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this movement is a loose grouping of litigants. Loose. Grouping of
Loose.
litigants, activists, tax protesters, financial scheme promoters, and conspiracy theorists who claim to be answerable only to their particular interpretations of the common law and believe that they are therefore not subject to any government statutes or proceedings unless they consent to them.
Emphasis
How
on their
convenient.
own particular interpretations.
Oh, these people are fucking
Unhinged.
wild.
Unhinged.
So if you have questions, feel free to ask them, but I'm unlikely to have an answer because it's, again, all over the motherfucking place. Sovereign citizens are the opposite of what they call federal citizens, who have knowingly forfeited their rights by accepting some aspect of federal law, including being issued a birth certificate, which we'll get to. They believe that, for example, taxation is illegal, the courts and judges have no jurisdiction over people, they can make their own license plates.
We'll get to it.
Excellent. And that writing certain words or phrases on their bills, like their bills to be paid, render those bills illegitimate and therefore do not need to be paid.
we'll get to a lot of that kind
But
of
they're
crap
very
in my
happy
case.
to accept goods and services.
And
yeah.
tax returns.
Yep. So these pseudo law arguments have no basis in law and have never been upheld in court. The FBI, which classifies sovereign citizen extremists as domestic terrorists, because as I'm sure we'll get to, some of these confrontations have resulted in violence, describes them as, quote, anti-government extremists who believe that even though they physically reside in this country, they are separate or sovereign from the United States. They believe that government is operating outside of its jurisdiction and generally do not recognize federal, state, or local laws, policies, or governmental regulations.
And yet they think that they can own property, which really makes no sense to me.
They subscribe to a number of conspiracy theories, including a prevalent theory which states that the U.S. government, or as they say, the USG, became bankrupt and began using citizens as collateral in trade agreements with foreign governments.
Yeah,
They-
are you going to get to the gold standard?
I'm going to get to all of it, baby.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, yeah. We'll circle back to the gold standard bankruptcy shit
Good.
in my case.
They believe secret bank accounts exist at the United States Department of the Treasury. These accounts can be accessed using Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, Universal Commercial Code, the UCC, which we'll come back to, and fraudulent financial documents. So they tend to believe that by filing a UCC financing statement, they can establish their superior right to that treasury account. Having established such a right, they can then create bonds, which they tender to creditors as payments of their debts. And as they interpret the UCC, if that creditor wrongly refuses to accept this tender, the sovereign debtor is discharged from any responsibility.
This is like I'm glad you broke this down because my case is like all financial stuff. And this is a scam. This is exactly the scam that my guy does.
And that's all it is. It's a fucking scam. Mm-hmm. Sovereign citizens are known to travel the country conducting training seminars on debt elimination schemes.
My guy does that.
Yep. The seminars focus on obtaining funds from a secret straw man account using legitimate IRS forms, UCC forms, and fraudulent financial documents.
Yep.
Sovereign citizens believe that once the documentation is filed, they gain access to their so-called straw man account with the Treasury Department, because there's always a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow of delusion.
Even if they believe all of this, why do they think they have the right to any of the Treasury Department funds if they're not paying taxes?
We're gonna get to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna get to it. This movement in the U.S. can be traced back. So it started, as far as I can tell, it started in the U.S., but now it's global. Mm-hmm. So the movement in the U.S. can be traced back to far-right groups like the constitutionalist wing of the militia movement and the Posse Comitatus, which is Latin for force of the country. Mm. And this was a far-right populist movement which began in the late 1960s. Its members spread a conspiracy-minded, anti-government, anti-Semitic message linked to white supremacy, aiming to counter what they believed was an attack on their social and political rights as white Christians, since non-whites are not human and Jews want to take over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Classic.
So they just get this, it's literal white entitlement to all of the spoils of the federal government without having to contribute to any of it.
1000%. Yep. Mm-hmm. They believe that the county sheriff was the highest government authority. Okay.
That's so funny because they're walking this tightrope of like, we don't believe in government. We don't like this. I like me a sheriff, though.
I'll keep the sheriff.
I like the sheriff, the holster, the hat.
Yeah, it's got a cool hat.
Big fan. Actually, my guys do not like the sheriff.
The proclivity to bribery. Maybe a little more fucked
They like
up.
the sheriff because it's like a white, masculine
Yep.
bullshit.
Yep. Absolutely. It's like an Old West white Christian entitlement.
I'm the
bullshit.
sheriff in this here town.
Their ideology evolved into the sovereign citizens movement and groups like the Christian Patriot movement. The movement developed during a crossroads of the American tax protester phenomenon, which was started in the mid 20th century, but is also obviously still going. And the radical racist anti-government movements in the 60s and 70s, and the concept of pseudo-law, which came about in the 50s. And so basically, I'm not going to go too far into pseudo-law because it's both complicated and not complicated at the same time, but basically it's just jamming up the courts with bullshit.
We will get to that.
Great. Excellent. Okay, so the farm crisis in the 70s and 80s further expanded the movement because one of the movement's aims was, again, selling fraudulent debt relief programs, which people were at the time really desperate for. Today, the sovereign citizen movement is not centralized to any specific groups and includes people of various ethnicities, mostly white and African Americans, which I thought was kind of surprising.
But not together.
No.
They tend not to mix within the movements. They have their own branches.
No, but again, the movement is so loose and scattered.
Right.
No, but that's what I'm just...
Yeah.
I don't want people to get the wrong idea that now it's not super racist. Because...
Oh, I mean, anything that grows out of these roots of such intense racism and anti-Semitism is not gonna self-correct.
Yeah.
So the African American sovereign citizen sort of movement people sometimes claim to belong to self-declared Moorish sects. And I
I
think
covered that one girl whose house was taken over.
Shanetta Little.
that's
Yeah.
the episode where we started talking about this. So it's the whole Moorish thing.
Yeah, they have very parallel ideologies and tactics. They don't call themselves sovereign citizens necessarily, but it's basically the same thing.
It's essentially the same thing.
And a lot of anti-Semitism in both.
Oh, yeah.
Unpacking the Moorish Science Temple of America is definitely its own podcast, but the gist is that they promote the idea that Black Americans are all descendants of Moabites and thus are Moorish by nationality, so not American, and Islamic or Muslim by faith. So that's sort of like their main tenet. But again, as with everything, very complicated. Don't have time to go into it right now.
I don't think the sovereign citizens are going to come for you. I don't
Probably not.
think they're listening,
Probably not.
but
Was I apologizing to sovereign citizens?
No.
no, that was the joke. Just like you were trying to be. It's fine.
I think she's more trying to explain to the listeners that she doesn't have every detail because it's like too big to unpack.
That's
Not that
exactly
she's
what
getting
I'm
pieces
saying.
wrong.
No.
So that was her gentle "don't at me" is how I interpreted
Right.
that.
I didn't go too far into this because it is very complicated. It's its own thing, but there is a significant overlap, which is the only reason I'm mentioning it here.
Right. And a lot of these extremist groups, regardless of race, religion, or creed, will absolutely overlap and have shared tactics and ideologies. It's just, that's just going to happen.
So components of the sovereign citizens movement have been used by lots of different groups, including Black separatists, the Fundamental Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints,
Oh, God.
Canada's-
Way cool.
Canada's Freemen on the Land movement, and the Republic of the United States, plus people just trying to start shit about masks and mandates and vaccines during the pandemic.
Getting pulled
and all that
over and
stuff.
not wanting to pay their tickets and declaring themselves sovereign citizens and
Yeah, all that.
that kind of entertainment.
But I'm just saying these different groups, and also with the internet, like obviously people can spread these theories and ideas and create forums and discuss like different strategies about like gotcha to the government things.
so much of
4chan.
Yeah, so it's so easy for people to fall into these movements too, because people on every side of the aisle want to stick it to the government for one reason or another.
Right.
And the back channels they go through to like gain followers, which we'll kind of get to, are nuts.
Nuts. So
Like
of
the
course,
communities that these people pop up in are so funny to me.
of course, there's also overlap with QAnon and the Oath Enforcers. I think that's different from Oath Keepers, which
Yep.
is
But it's like
stupid.
all
It's all
connected,
the
yeah.
fucking same stupid bullshit. Also, specific incidents such as the Cliven and Eamon Bundy standoff in 2016 at the Mellor National Wildlife Refuge,
Which
if you
I'm
remember
pretty
that.
sure we covered a long time ago. I think I covered them,
I think you did too, but just
but like
just-
years ago.
It's just stupid shit like that. Okay.
So dumb.
So getting into a little more of the modern sovereign citizen ideology. This is from
Modsov.
Modsov Sid. This is from the Southern Poverty Law Center. Quote, the contemporary sovereign belief system is based on a decades-old conspiracy theory. Sovereigns believe that the American government, set up by the Founding Fathers under a common law legal system, was secretly replaced. They think that the replacement government swapped common law for admiralty law, which is essentially maritime law.
I was just going to say, wait, like boats?
Like the admiral, like the admiralty, like boat.
Maritime law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that also dictates international commerce.
Well, what is a country if not a giant land-made boat on
What are
the
you
ocean?
even fucking talking about?
Making it make sense. It makes sense to me.
Well, they
We should
don't
be under
wanna-
maritime law.
They don't want to fund big law by going to law school and checking. So,
Big law.
so they're pretty sure
Hashtag
they heard
defund
about it
big
once.
law.
I'm not here to suck off big law, okay?
Jesus Christ.
I'm not going to pay a fee to pass the bar exam.
God.
I'm not going to learn any of your words and theories and
Mainly because I can't
Precedence.
swim, so I don't know how I'd get there.
Oh, God.
You can't
I don't have a
swim.
boat.
You're terrified of the ocean, too.
You really are. Some sovereigns believe
I can swim.
you can swim, you just hate the ocean, and that's okay.
You can swim in a lake or a pool.
Yeah.
Not where these folks are going with
Mostly a
Maritime
pool.
Law.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some sovereigns believe that this perfidious change occurred during the Civil War, while others blame the events of 1933 when the U.S. abandoned the gold standard.
There it is.
Either way, they stake
But
their
what's inside
lives.
Fort Knox? Fort
Gold!
Knox. It's gone. No, the gold is gone. It's empty.
Okay, whatever. Either way, they stake their lives and livelihoods on the idea that U.S. judges and lawyers who they believe are foreign agents know about this hidden government takeover but argue against it, thereby denying the sovereign's motions and filings out of treasonous loyalty to hidden and malevolent government forces.
Yeah.
Sounds like a really bad comic book.
It sounds
Yep.
exhausting.
It does sound exhausting.
Yeah.
And their messaging is to try and make you seem like some kind of superhero for bucking against all of this and knowing the truth.
Yeah, as with all
Ugh.
conspiracy theories.
Exactly.
I'm superior because I know the truth. And I
every
pity you
time
because you don't.
More evidence is presented against my conspiracy theory. I interpret it as more evidence of my theory that
Yep.
they're fighting me so hard.
Yup.
Yep.
Yup.
So a little more about this gold thing, if it helps out your case, Amanda. Most sovereign citizens base their actions on a bogus U.S. history lesson, which goes as follows. Since 1933, the U.S. dollar has been backed not by gold, but by the, quote, full faith and credit of the U.S. government. In fact, President Franklin D. Roosevelt ended private ownership of gold in large amounts in 1933. Governments could still sell gold for dollars to the U.S. Treasury for a fixed amount after that, until that practice was ended by Richard Nixon in 1971. According to sovereign citizen researchers, the government has pledged its citizenry as collateral by selling their future earning capabilities to foreign investors, effectively enslaving all Americans.
I mean, that's just semantics. I mean,
Right.
that, like, they're not wrong, but
No, like
also,
they're
like,
basically describing capitalism.
yeah.
Yeah, but they break
Like-
it down to like really bizarre and stupid specifics.
Right.
Right.
And then they find these magical
It's-
loopholes in taxes, which we'll
It's
kind of get to.
Stupid
Yeah.
semantics.
If
To,
you
to
can-
wipe their debts clean and not have to pay bills and not have to pay all this kind of shit. But
If you
yeah,
can
like
sell someone on the theory, the overarching theory, it's easier to get them to buy into your stupid schemes.
Exactly.
Like trickling
Like-
further down.
Like, yes, we got rid of the gold standard, which means that, like, yes, money is basically just an idea. It's just a concept. I mean, it still was with gold, unless, like, you really want gold earrings. But otherwise, like, gold isn't all that useful either.
Right.
Just a
It's
n-
Bitcoin.
different
I mean,
yeah, it's
and I
just
bet
different
half these
shit.
people own Bitcoin too.
Yeah,
Probably.
different shit, different names. And then, like, we do, as a government, borrow money from other countries based on the fact that our citizens will continue to earn money and then buy goods.
Yep, exactly.
It's like
that's
that
an
is-
that's a
that's-
capitalist economy in
Right.
a nutshell.
Right.
That is just world economics.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So this sale, they claim, takes place at birth. When a baby is born in the U.S., a birth certificate is issued, and the hospital usually advises the parents to apply for a social security number.
If
Sovereigns,
you do that,
sovereigns say that the government then uses that birth certificate to set up a corporate trust in the baby's name, a secret treasury account, or the straw man account, which it funds with amounts ranging from $600,000 to $20 million. And the most common, like, amount that they spew is $630,000.
Yeah, because they like to, like, have some randomly specific number
yeah,
to sound
to make
more legitimate.
quote unquote legitimize. Yeah, exactly.
76% of
76
respondents.
trombones
Mostly bees.
went the big parade.
By setting up this Treasury Direct Account, or TDA, Every newborn's rights are split between those held by the flesh and blood baby and the ones assigned to his or her corporate shell account.
Please don't say flesh and blood baby ever again, but thank you. Got it.
Yeah, this is all.
Flesh and bloods and bones and muscle baby.
Why would the government put money into babies' secret
Little
account?
whole life insurance accounts for millions of babies.
Because they're selling that capital to foreign investors. It's an enslavement thing. It's collateral,
Got it.
right?
Then
It doesn't need to make sense, and it
The
certainly
government has
won't.
pledged its citizenry as collateral by selling their future earning capabilities to foreign investors.
yeah, but then how do foreign investors recoup? They come in and snatch ya.
They
I
come
am
take it.
not
That's the
here
risk.
to make sense of this.
That's the risk. You might get snatched. China.
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 Got it.
So again, that's the basis of their
It's
straw
just
man
fear.
theory.
It's just stupid, loose fear mongering.
'Kay.
Global political capitalist fear mongering.
In fairness, Social Security forms are very scary looking.
They're terrifying.
Yeah.
What?
This is
So
a gu-
scary.
What are
There's
they
something
scary?
just kind of scary about the graphic design of a Social
Every
Security
kind of tax,
card and a
so-
It
Social
looks like a
Security or
tax. It
federal
looks like a
form.
1040.
Yeah, and I'm scared of those too.
Oh, I'm scared of all of it. I don't know how to fill it out. I have a stack of paperwork relating to like some death insurance thing. I'm afraid to fill
For
it out.
you?
Corey's
for me.
gonna.
My death.
Corey Bauta.
My death. Okay, so again, that's the basis of the straw man theory that essentially anything with your name spelled in all caps, such as a birth certificate or a driver's license, applies to your shell identity, not your real self identity.
Good Lord.
So, in order to separate their corporate shells, sovereign citizens take any number of steps that they basically invented to declare themselves sovereign, including filing documentation with their Secretary of State's office, declaring themselves sovereign, and signing it with either blood or red ink thumbprints,
Yikes.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
and then having their new sovereign identity published in the newspaper. And
Fucking
apparently,
Israel keys.
if you complete those two steps, you are officially a sovereign citizen.
It's that easy.
It's that
Wow.
easy. Then, in order to access their secret treasury accounts, quote, they file a series of complex legal sounding documents. For decades, sovereigns have attempted to perfect the process by packaging and promoting different combinations of forms and paperwork. So, this is part of what they sell to people as part of their scam.
Wow.
The only touted success stories are from sovereigns who were in fact committing fraud against the government or private companies by creating counterfeit or fraudulent and fictitious documents. And again,
Yup.
zero have been successful.
I actually think that I'm like resurfacing a memory right now. I think one of Zach's close friends who is a lawyer, now he works
Is a sovereign citizen.
in private practice, but before that he worked for the DOJ, and I think a lot of his job was like going after people who were committing fraud against the government and trying to like evade their taxes by declaring that they didn't believe in taxes.
Or just by filing frivolous bullshit to clog everything up,
Yep.
which is what they
Taxes
call
are against my religion, so
paper
I'm
terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
I love that phrase.
Imagine having so little joy in your life that you turn to
Paper terrorism.
4chan.
paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
Like your hobby
Get
is
your jallies.
fake paperwork.
But
I don't
they
get it.
really believe that they're going to come out with over $500,000 in the end.
And in some cases, those loopholes have been fruitful.
No.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll get to it.
Squatting in houses and shit like that lady.
Well, and in certain tax filings,
Mm-hmm.
when you fraudulent, this is literally fraudulent tax, not only evasion, but like filing.
Mm-hmm.
And it sometimes does slip through the cracks of the IRS, and you can get these massive tax returns, which we'll talk about in my case.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
So
Yeah.
they're emboldened by the fact that on
Sometimes
occasion
it
it has
works.
worked out.
God.
And just
They
because it
eventually
hasn't,
get caught.
just because their theories aren't held up in court doesn't mean on some level some of them do profit from it.
right, at least temporarily until they're caught. But
Right.
yes.
So here's some other shit that these people get up to. Obviously, tax evasion. What we talked about, the squatting, is called adverse possession. So that would be squatting on a property that does not belong to them.
Mm-hmm.
Ignoring laws regarding driver's licenses, vehicle registration, or license plate possession. Sovereign citizens assert that they are traveling, not driving.
Correct.
Since they are not transporting commercial goods or paying passengers. I'm traveling.
Yep. Yep.
Fuck.
My
This
guy
is-
does that.
This
my
is
case.
the shit that's in the YouTube videos, and the cops are getting so fucking annoyed with them.
Oh
And
my God. Can
every
you
bit of it
imagine
is joy.
being a cop trying to deal with this bullshit?
I mean, I couldn't imagine being a cop.
I know,
yes.
but you know what I
We'll
mean.
get to it.
The frustration.
Mm-hmm.
They question judges about the validity of their oaths. They reject Social Security. They do not use zip codes, or they put their zip codes in brackets, or they say near such and such zip code.
Clever.
Right.
They do not write in reference to their own name in capital letters, like I said, because the capital letter name refers to their like government identity, not their
It'd
true
be
selves.
tough if you had that handwriting that's like all caps.
This seems like way too much work. This is a lot to keep straight.
This is
Yeah,
too much bullshit. It's
exhausting.
insanity.
It's exhausting. Yeah.
So, for example, by identifying oneself, like on a writ, if you have to sign something, someone could write John Doe, lowercase, executive trustee for the private contract trust known as all caps John Doe.
Oh my God.
Imagine being the like Wells Fargo teller.
Imagine being
Who
like a
has to-
server at Applebee's, and that's how you've signed your credit card slip.
No, they'd have to write, I do not need to pay this bill in red with their bloody thumbprint, and they just peace out.
Oh,
How often are
God.
they just walking around with vials of blood? Are they pricking their fingers every
They
time?
could just get a diabetic,
fucking
like,
know.
Yeah.
a Lancet.
Yeah, the little popper.
I do it. People do it multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Now I have a CGM for my document, my sovereign citizen document signing. But,
So again, they write only in red ink. Sometimes it's blue, but again, it depends on the specific sect that you fucking belong to. They can write their name or sign their name interspersing colons or hyphens or other odd punctuation within the name, and or they can use the prefix noble or the suffix bay, B-E-Y, or L-bay with
how
one's name.
dare you do Bay like that?
Well, it's not
It's not
a Beyonce
It's not
thing.
Bayhive.
So that links mostly back to the Moorish stuff because, according to some of their theories, adding Bay or El Bay is a way of quote unquote Africanizing one's name.
Okay.
So again, linking back to the Moorish.
Sure.
I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm a Moorish citizen. Whatever. Believing that the state is not in fact a government, but instead a corporation.
That's not far off.
That's completely accurate. I'm like, yes. Yes. Cheers, fucking sovereign citizens.
They also-
You got one. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a
Oh
while.
my God. They also claim that the appearance of gold fringe on American flags that are displayed in courtrooms and whatever is evidence of that maritime law being in effect.
And stop signs with white trim are optional.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Another sign that a person you might be dealing with is a sovereign citizen. They might notarize their documents even if that's not required. And they might apply international postage rates even if it's for domestic mail.
So
If they
like
want to waste their goddamn money, you can go right ahead.
They might do their signature followed by SLS, which stands for Sovereign Living Soul. And then I mentioned paper terrorism a little bit ago. So there's a quote from the Southern Poverty Law Center. The weapon of choice for sovereign citizens is paper. A simple traffic violation or pet licensing case can end up provoking dozens of court filings containing hundreds of pages on pseudo-legal nonsense. But yeah, just blocking everything up with your bullshit.
Just literally their whole thing is let's just be as annoying as humanly possible.
Actually, though,
Yeah.
yes. Because some have engaged in armed confrontations with law enforcement, the FBI classifies sovereign citizen extremists as domestic terrorists. So Terry Nichols, one of the perpetrators of the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing, subscribed to a variation of sovereign citizen ideology. In surveys conducted in 2014 and 2015, representatives of U.S. law enforcement ranked the risk of terrorism from the sovereign citizen movement higher than the risk from any other group, including Islamic extremists, militias, racist skinheads, neo-Nazis, and radical environmentalists.
Shit.
They don't fuck
And
around.
speaking of the globalization of this whole movement, the New South Wales police force in Australia has also identified sovereign citizens as a potential terrorist threat.
Dang.
Right.
So in terms of numbers, and again, very loosely organized, hard to tell. Since the late 2000s, the sovereign citizen movement has significantly expanded in the U.S. due to the Great Recession and more specifically to the mortgage crisis.
You can't take my house. I don't recognize your authority.
Yeah. I'm about to just take your house. In 2010, the Southern Poverty Law Center estimated that approximately 100,000 Americans were, quote, hardcore sovereign believers, with another 200,000, quote, just starting out by testing sovereign techniques for resisting everything from speeding tickets to drug charges. And then according to another one of their estimates, the number of sovereign citizen influenced militia groups, so groups, increased dramatically in the U.S. between 2008 and 2011, surging from 149 to 1,274.
Wow.
Those are the latest numbers I could find. So again, that kind of
2011.
ends in 2011. I can only fucking imagine what those
That is
numbers are now.
Absolutely fucking exploded.
Post-pandemic, post-Trump, all this shit.
2016, yeah.
1,000%.
So anyway, that's a little bit of a primer on sovereign citizens.
Dang. Yeah, that was good.
It was long. I could have gone way fucking farther.
It
Of
was
course.
perfect.
I feel very
Thanks.
informed.
Thanks.
All right, quick break, and then my case.
Let's do it.
Think back to sex ed for a moment.
No.
Well, you probably learned all about how to prevent pregnancy, or at least how to not make eye contact with your teacher.
Right.
But what about how to plan for pregnancy? You probably didn't learn that much about it at the time, and you probably haven't thought about it until you're thinking about it.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And that is why modern fertility was created. It's an easy and affordable way to test your fertility hormones at home with a simple finger prick. Couldn't be easier. You mail it in with a prepaid label. You'll get your personalized results within 6 business days. And boy, howdy, the results. They give you insight into your hormone levels, like your ovarian reserve. So like if you have more or maybe fewer eggs than the average person your age, and other important factors that can impact your fertility. And you know what? Maybe you're just curious. Maybe you just want to know what's going on inside your bod. So these results go deep into what every hormone means, and you can also download the results to review with your own doctor for next steps. And the same hormone testing traditionally can cost over $600, but modern fertility tests the same general set of hormones for only $179. And you can use your FSA or HSA money, and cherry on top, if you go to modernfertility.com/gals, you get $20 off your test.
Oh.
So if you want kids today or maybe just one day in the future, clinically sound information about your body can help make the decision that is right for you.
I love it. And right now, Modern Fertility is offering our listeners $20 off the test when you go to modernfertility.com/gals. That means your test will cost $159, which is a fraction of what it would cost at a fertility clinic. So get $20 off your fertility test when you go to modernfertility.com/gals. One more time, modernfertility.com/gals, and treat your knowledge.
Treat it. So, Lucy touched on a lot of the elements of bullshit that the complete fucking assholes in my case attempted.
It's a lot of fucking bullshit.
It's a lot of fucking bullshit, but we will get to the really dark side of some of these confrontations of what happens when reality hits the delusion.
Sure.
Okay, so on the morning of May 20th, 2010, Bill Evans, a West Memphis police officer, pulled over a minivan. This
It
is
was Bill.
a white Plymouth Voyager.
Oh my God.
Moon
Is
Trash 3.
He drives a Honda Odyssey.
Because of its unusual license plates.
Uh-oh.
Evans had been working on a drug interdiction team on the highway between West Memphis and Arkansas. And side note, while I was looking up what drug interdiction was,
Yeah, what is that?
It's-
Intervening?
it's basically like stopping drug trafficking, but like interstate and not what we would think of as like cartels and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Does that
It's
that
like
makes
what
sense?
our person we went to high school with went to jail for crossing state lines with a bunch of drugs.
So drug interdiction is trying to stop that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's not the actual pulling over, it's like the whole task force
Yeah.
behind it? Okay.
Yeah.
Tracking dealers and
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah. But not like cartels.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah. Not like the DEA, basically. Still like just police. Okay. So I came across this police officer blog that talked about how highway patrol is the first line of defense when it comes to drug trafficking.
God.
And how police officers should look for things in cars like religious artifacts, which
Because
they
put stuff inside of it.
I thought that too.
Oh.
But actually, and that is also true, that does happen. But because, and this is all what the cop blog claimed, because these are used by drug runners to make cops think that they are good people.
Probably a little bit of both. Column A, column
Yeah.
B.
Well, it's like like a rosary hanging from your mirror. or
Yeah,
whatever.
and then you can be like, me, officer?
Yeah.
I'm a
A
man,
man
of
of
God.
God. Yeah, there it is. There it is.
And then also heavy air freshener use in order to mask odors.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that. Like
Yeah.
drug odors. Okay.
Yeah.
Me thinking, are sovereign citizens just stinky? But no, you're still talking about this drug thing. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do they notoriously smell?
I mean, yeah. So the minivan belonged to Jerry Kane, lowercase, 45 years old. He is a self-identified sovereign citizen,
Danny
and
Kane.
he did not have a driver's license by choice.
Well, because he's not driving, he's traveling.
Correct. And
Right.
his minivan was not registered. So it probably
All right.
didn't have tabs or anything. I mean, definitely didn't have tabs. Also in the vehicle was Jerry's 16-year-old son, Joe. And Joe perpetrates a lot of violence in this case, but also like you have to keep in mind that he is 16 and he was raised in like this ideology. And like what fucking hope did he have?
He's been pretty brainwashed.
He's been brainwashed as a child.
Indoctrinated.
So it's Jerry the dad, Joe the son, and a brick of marijuana. So just casual Tuesday.
Like
Two
a
guys,
big
one brick.
Pretty sizable brick.
Big enough to be called a brick.
Yeah.
Think of what a brick looks
Not a
like.
baggie.
That's probably the size of the brick.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see a brick. I don't know. Marijuana is weird to measure because it's very light. So a brick might not really be like a federally illegal amount. I don't know.
Well, this was 2011 or 2010? 2010. And they're in Tennessee and Arkansas. So I feel like it's illegal.
Okay.
No info on how much use of air freshener in the
Okay.
It's happened.
Flavor.
I
of air
was gonna
freshener?
ask, so
Yeah. We can assume a lot, or at least Axe body spray.
Blech.
So there were 2 arrest warrants already out for Jerry Kane, one in Ohio and one in New Mexico, and we will get to it. And because of this, Sergeant Brandon Pottert was called to the scene as backup for Officer Evans. So Evans pulls over this fucking van with the suspicious license plates and looks it up and realizes that there are 2 warrants out for the traveler's arrest and calls for backup.
burger.
And when Pottert arrives, Officer Evans tries to frisk Jerry. Jerry begins to argue with the officers and gets into a quote unquote tussle with Officer Evans, which resulted in Jerry pushing Evans into a roadside ditch. At that moment, the teenage Joe jumps out of the van with an AK-47,
Fucking yikes. Talk about 0 to 60 in seconds flat.
Christ.
opens fire.
Great.
So the ensuing shootout between Joe and Jerry Kane and Sergeant Pottert and Officer Evans ends in the death of both officers. Because, like, how do you...
All right, for sure, partner.
That's it.
Hold on. Okay.
They pull them over.
Pernert and Evans are the two cops.
They're frisking
Yeah.
the dad.
Yeah.
Evans is frisking the dad. The son freaks out, jumps out of the car
Yeah.
with an AK-47, and a shootout ensues. And
At
both
what
cops
point,
are
who
killed.
gets pushed into the ditch?
Okay.
Jerry pushes Cop Evans into the ditch, and then the
Evans
son. Got it. Okay. I got
pulls
it.
over Jerry and Joe.
Got it.
Jerry...
And they work in a button factory.
Pernert arrives as Burger.
Jerry and Evans tussle. Jerry pushes Evans into the ditch. Joe hops out with an AK-47 and just starts spraying
Firing.
bullets.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. So when Joe opened fire, he first aimed at Officer Evans, the one who was physically fighting with his dad.
You just said
And
offer, sir.
Oh, did I say it?
You said offer, sir.
I'm trying.
I know. But R.I.P. these poor men.
It's horrible.
It's really bad.
We're laughing about words.
The name.
The name.
Burner.
Yeah. We're just being stupid and uncomfortable. Okay. So Joe opens fire, aims at Officer Evans, shoots him several times. The other officer, I can't say the name, then ducks
Burner.
behind a police car and fired 7 times, but missed because he just has like his handgun or whatever.
Right.
And Joe, the teenager, is still firing the AK-47, and he fires kind of like over the hood of the van and kills Potter with a ricochet bullet.
Oh, dang.
But he keeps firing, and Potter dies at the scene after being shot 11 times, and Evans dies in the hospital after being hit 14 times.
Damn.
Jesus.
Because that is what happens when people have access to
AK-47.
AK-47s.
Yeah.
So Joe and Jerry speed off in their fucking minivan, but they are found just 2 hours later. Where else but at a Walmart supercenter?
No.
I was going to guess a Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel.
Nice.
So obviously the shooting and fucking tragic and unwarranted deaths
Right.
of officers Pottert and Evans led to an all-out manhunt. All agencies are called, and they're looking for a white minivan with odd Ohio license plates. I love that he's still like
You clinging to.
Ohio.
Do you have a picture of these license plates?
I searched and I you can't really see it clearly enough, so it's not really worth it. It's just the photos that I could find are not great.
I will drop a photo of an example of a bogus license plate because I forgot to drop that from my laptop. But
Oh, that's what I was just Googling.
It looks like you just printed it out from like
Yep.
Microsoft Word.
Kinko's.
Well-
you ordered it on customprints.com.
We will get to it. So I was reading up about these plates that sovereign citizens sometimes buy, and according to Car and Driver magazine, you can buy like Etsy-esque license plate tags
Yeah.
That
Live, laugh, love, sovereign citizen.
that proclaim that the vehicle is, quote, private, traveling without commercial purpose, and not subject to insurance or licensing requirements. And these can run you about $40. If you, again, don't want to just make your own with a crayon at home, because that would be just as good. So,
Make it out of shrinky dinks in your own oven and
Just
tack
as
it onto your
legit.
car.
Shrinky dinks.
I want a shrinky dink sovereign citizen license plate keychain.
Ew.
Someone make it.
so calls start coming in from all over the Memphis area claiming to see the van. One tip said that they saw Joe at a Walmart superstore shopping while Jerry was changing the van's license plates in the parking lot to try to evade detection.
In the parking lot.
The parking lot of the Walmart.
The burger
Whoa,
warmer.
that's not suspicious at all.
Warning burger.
So, responding to the call, again, it's an all-out manhunt, all agencies calls. We have 2 officers down, like everyone is
Shit
called.
is not being taken lightly.
Mm-hmm.
So, responding to that call, we have wildlife officer, like Arkansas, like fish and game, wildlife, whatever.
Don't get the nature guy involved.
Well, he gets
We need
involved.
burger.
He involves some surf.
I came for burger.
Michael K. Neal, and he was the first to spot the van. And in order to prevent the Canes from escaping the parking lot, he rammed his fish and game wildlife truck
His boat.
into the minivan. He just
Dang.
drives,
Good for him.
yeah.
All right.
But also-
all right.
Which would have been really fucking terrifying to do, knowing that these assets have killed.
Had already killed a bunch of people.
Have an assault rifle on.
And-
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is very brave.
Mm-hmm.
His truck, by the way, is now on display at the National Museum of Law Enforcement in Washington, D.C., which is not
Weird.
a museum I knew existed or would want to visit. But hey, props to the wildlife officers out there fighting raccoons every day.
Mm-hmm.
Putting themselves on the front lines.
Well, this guy did.
guy did.
So
I know, no, for sure.
Really fucking did.
Literally.
Not minimizing what Officer Neal did.
No.
No.
Although I really do, I would watch Cops if it was literally just about wrangling raccoons out of trash.
I
cans.
would too.
Oh, do you not watch Animal Planet? That's like
Oh,
half
no.
of their
You're
series.
right. That's it. Animal Cops, they have that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
You right.
dang. I thought we had a billion sovereign
A sovereign
sovereign
citizen
book
idea.
We did. It's just about 12 years too late.
Okay.
Okay, so they're in a Walmart parking lot, and this
Walmart.
officer rams his truck into the minivan, and then the Canes immediately open fire on Neal, who is still in his truck, but miraculously he is not hit.
All right.
More officers then descend on this scene, and they shoot at the van.
Okay.
At this point, we have a second intense shootout, and Sheriff Dick Busby.
No. No.
There aren't many last names that would fit with Dick, but Busby's
Sheriff
not.
Dick Busby.
Whoa. I know that man already.
Officer Busby, we need burger. But
I know what he smokes. I know how he likes his coffee. I know his favorite dish at Cracker Barrel.
He has a favorite booth at Cracker Barrel.
Yes, of course. A favorite sour bar.
Can't beat their milk and cheese.
Mark
Charge. Do a little shopping on your way out.
Yeah, stir bread a gift shirt.
Sure.
Gift shirt.
Don't forget to stir bread a gift shirt.
Eric sits through the gift shirt.
Or sit through the gift shirt with the Cracker Barrel. Call Dirk Busby.
Sheriff Dick Busby and Chief Enforcement Officer.
Sorry.
And Chief Enforcement Officer W.A. Wren. They're there. They're doing this shootout. It's really
They're doing this shootout. They're doing this shootout. Oh, this is bad.
This is why we don't do 2 eps in one day.
Oh.
Something bad has happened to us. We can't stop laughing.
Okay. It's really serious and scary. Okay.
I know. It is.
Okay. So these people who rush to the scene are wounded, but the Canes are still going because they've got a fucking AK-47.
Yeah, probably a lot of ammunition.
Yeah.
Like, they're not fucking around.
They weren't not planning for this.
Right.
So
This
then
is like an inevitability in their lifestyle.
they even said, like they themselves, like Jerry himself said that this was gonna eventually happen.
Oh, God.
I think in like a court. Anyway.
Oh, good.
So Neal, the wildlife officer, then begins to exchange more gunfire with them, shooting through his own windshield because he's mad. He's like, their cars are touched. They're like on top of each other.
Well, right. He doesn't want to get out of the car because then
Right.
he'd lose cover.
Shooting
so it's
through
like,
your
yeah.
own Oh, that in itself is really scary.
Really scary.
Could have
right?
bounced right back.
Yeah.
Coulda.
No, it's scary. So He's at much closer range, so he kills Jerry Kane and wounds Joe Kane, who at this point has exited the vehicle and is still fucking shooting like a fucking video game.
So he killed the dad, but the son is still shooting. Okay.
And then Joe, the son, continues to fight until he is shot and killed by other police who arrive at the scene.
Oh my God. They
so
really
was it worth it, Canes? You ended up fucking dead anyway,
gonna
you fucking
guess not.
losers.
Wow.
God.
I didn't know they both died.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that. I knew the cops died.
Mm-hmm. So Jerry Kane, some background. Jerry Kane was an Ohio native who worked as a truck driver, and he was married to a woman named Hope, and they had 2 children, their son, Joe, and then 2 years later, a daughter named Candy. You can't make fun of Candy. Hold on.
I can make fun of Candy's parents for doing that to her.
Candy's name is Candy Kane.
I'm holding it back.
So,
It's a family
Did
name.
her first name start with a K too?
no,
Oh,
Candy with a C.
I don't know if that's better or worse.
So, you can't make fun of Candy Kane because...
I'm not. It's her parents' fault. It's not her fault.
Yeah.
She didn't pick her name.
So Kane had Jerry Kane had been distrustful of and resented the government since the late 1990s after his daughter Candy had died of sudden infant death syndrome.
Oh,
Oh, God.
You can't. There's nothing more traumatic than that.
I
no.
pictured this as a woman adult.
Yeah, me too.
No. So she dies this horrible, traumatic, out of nowhere death.
Yeah, sudden death.
For no reason. Obviously, he's looking for his grief is looking for somewhere to blame.
Of course.
And the authorities do perform an autopsy on the baby because I'm sure that's standard procedure when an infant dies. They have to, prove that there wasn't wrongdoing.
Right.
And he is like incensed that they cut up his baby girl.
Sure. Which, as a parent,
That's
as not a
valid
parent,
too.
I couldn't understand. But just the idea of someone cutting into your child, even if it's necessary, would be horrific. I'm sure.
It's a
But that's
horrendous thought.
certainly not an excuse for where his life goes.
Right.
And I'm not saying he's part of any of these religions or cultures, but there are a lot that culturally frown way upon that. So it's not like
Out of nowhere.
It's not unreasonable for him to be really upset about that. I don't think.
It is also, I'm sure, the law and it exists to protect children, but like,
Of course.
Yeah, they
It's-
want to make sure
he's-
it wasn't like a shaken baby thing or anything
yeah.
like that.
Foul play.
yeah. So after this instigating traumatic event, Jerry Kane becomes more and more distrustful of the government over time, and eventually he gives up his driver's license and then therefore has to quit his job as a truck driver.
Mm-hmm.
How do you give up your driver's license? You just don't renew it?
Don't renew
Don't
it.
renew it, cut it up, whatever.
Oh.
So then he also becomes more and more antagonistic with law enforcement in Ohio. So in 2004, Kane served 6 days of community service for driving with an expired license plate and no seatbelt. Cert bolt.
Serper.
He had to cut out their shirt bear.
He also complained to a judge that his community service, which was the 6 days of community service that he had to serve for this, whatever, he complained to a judge that it was, quote, enslavement.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, for sure. That makes sense.
Well, it's technically forced labor, but you don't have a leg to stand on, really.
Not in this one. Not in this one, boss.
So because of this interaction, law enforcement officers in Ohio became concerned about him, feeling that he would one day be a threat to them, and they were right.
Wait, question. Maybe it's state to state, but could you also opt out of community service and just serve a longer jail sentence?
It depends on the terms of your sentencing if that's offered, but it's
know.
not always offered.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know that you get to really like negotiate
I mean, you could certainly
You can
go to
in a lot of
jail
cases.
for not fulfilling your
community
court-ordered
service.
community service.
right.
And in some cases, it's like you either serve this much jail time or XYZ plus how many hours of community service. But that's not always on the table.
Right.
If they really needed their highways picked up.
If they really needed to go to that Kesha concert and it's more than just a concert, like they have to go. They can't go to jail at that time. Do you watch Teen Mom? Did you ever watch Teen Mom?
No, but I know what you're talking about.
Okay, I know what you're
I
talking
was like,
I was
how
like,
are you not getting this?
really
Of all people.
specific.
Took me a second, but I know what you're talking about.
What's that bitch's name?
I don't know, but her boyfriend was Kiefer.
Yeah, Kaifa.
God, what was her fucking name?
Janelle.
Janelle.
She had to go to the Kesha concert.
It's more than just a concert. It's like, it's Kesha. I have to go.
It's Kesha.
I can't go to jail on that day. I have Kesha tickets. That's literally a scene from this show. Anyway, moving on.
Emmy all around.
Also, back in 2004, Kane was arrested for shooting a 13-year-old boy with a BB gun.
Cool.
As an adult?
Great.
This is Jerry Kane, the dad.
Jesus Christ.
And during the dad's arrest, Joe Kane, the son, who was 10 years old at the time, attacked the officers who were arresting his dad.
That's my paw.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh,
My
no.
pow.
So in 2007, their mom, well, Jerry's wife and Joe's mom, Hope, dies of pneumonia.
Oh no. So now he does not have any stable parental figure at all.
Correct?
It's just his dad.
Correct.
Who has now even more trauma driving him completely insane.
Correct.
No.
So now this is just Jerry and Joe vibing alone together,
Jerry and Joe versus the world.
becoming more and more entrenched in their anti-government views. Jerry does eventually start dating another woman, and we're about to get to her, Donna. But they met, I think they met in like a chat room for all this type of shit. So she's bought in.
Yeah, she's part of it.
So the Canes were part of, this whole sovereign citizens bullshit. So as we know, sovereign citizens sometimes are involved in violent crimes, but they often prefer to fight using court filings.
Mm-hmm.
Paper terrorism.
Mm-hmm. So for example, Donna Lee Ray, who was Jerry Kane's, quote, common law wife after his actual wife, Hope, died. And of course, it's common law wife because they don't recognize the government bodies that
the
would.
paperwork that would make them legally married. So
Right.
she's my common law wife.
Correct?
Kermit Lerwerf.
My Kermit Lerwer.
My Kermit Worm was.
Would you still love me if I was a weeb?
was involved in a legal battle about getting a dog license. So over 2 months, she filed 10 sovereign documents in court. A 3-year dog license in her county, Pinellas County, Florida, is $20. But instead, she decided to file 10 lawsuits. So that's fun.
Keep your laws off my dog's body.
Yeah, there's gonna.
I'm not registering my dog.
Keep your laws off my paws.
Keep your laws off his powers.
Okay, so a little bit more about Donna in a second, but first, there were some of the scams that we talked about too. So they, believe they don't have to pay their mortgage or taxes. Mm-hmm. In 2006, Jerry had begun to post his redemption theories on sovereign citizen message boards. And this movement is a fraud scheme that is based on the belief that, there's the secret fund. They can reclaim the fund.
Mm-hmm.
I have
redemption as in redeeming that money, like getting that money. Oh my God.
Sure.
And it also ties into the anti-Semitic theories that like income tax is like a Jewish
right.
thing.
It's all being funneled to like Jews who run all the banks and are like secretly behind the scenes stealing all of our hard-earned white American dollars.
Right.
Blah, blah.
But Jews are the ones obsessed with money. Cool.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not obsessed with money.
Mm-mm. It's the
and
Jews.
Control.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in 2006, Jerry is charged for forgery and theft of a car by deception in Montgomery County, Ohio. And there was an outstanding warrant. That was one of his outstanding warrants when all this shit went down was this forgery bullshit.
Forgery bullshit.
After Hope died, he traveled and gave debt elimination seminars across the country, which I'm sure Amanda will get into more. But he charged between $100 and $300, quote, per man. Because
man.
Because women can't handle money.
Right.
Merman.
A man would have
the black lung.
A man would have to pay for his class, but that man could bring their wives and children for fur.
For.
God, that's bad.
But also, obviously, Joe was homeschooled. through all this and
Obviously.
came with on all
So
these trips.
obviously, Joe was
Homeschooled.
Goes without saying, this took place in Florida, and everyone involved was homeschooled.
Let me just preface, this is Ohio and Florida, and we're all homeschooling. Okay.
Yep.
Unfortunately, these seminars were not highly attended.
No?
Unfortunately,
But he also had a radio show.
Oh, good.
A
Don't they all?
podcast. Anyone can have that.
they
as
have a
we know.
podcast.
Don't they fucking all have a radio show?
Yes.
Ugh.
And he expressed his frustration with the lecture circuit, complaining that at one class in Denver, no one showed up. He also
nerd.
He also had a 2-day Las Vegas seminar that was attended by 6 people.
That's literally my bachelorette party.
That's
I'm actually hosting
half the size of your bachelorette party.
I'm actually hosting a 2-day sovereign citizen financial workshop, and I'm tricking all of you. Wouldn't that be? I'm changing my theme. I'm changing my bachelorette theme. This is it.
So
Straw man conference. Here we go.
So a month before the shooting, Jerry was arrested in New Mexico, and this is his other warrant that was out for his arrest. So that was a fresh one.
His further one.
First.
And this one was for driving without a license. Go figure.
You're darn sure.
On his internet radio show.
No. Are we sovereign citizens?
We're not.
Right.
We're sovereign assholes is what we are.
Kane said that he was arrested, quote, at a Nazi checkpoint.
Okay.
To make sure you're a Nazi?
No, like,
right?
he's
It's
calling,
conducted
the
by
government.
Nazis. Right.
Yeah.
I know what he's saying. It's just fucking dumb.
It's really stupid.
And he spent 47 hours in custody and planned to sue for $100 per hour of custody that he was subjected to.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
And he was released on bond, but did not appear in court. And the court date was 3 days before the shooting. So things were kind of closing in on him
yeah.
when this was going on.
Yikes. Yerps.
And Donna is now busy at work. She's moved on from the pet license thing, but now she is suing authorities for the, quote, torture killing of her common law husband. They'd been together 3 months, so actually they weren't even really common
Not even
law.
close to common law husband.
God.
And stepson. And she has specified that she wants to be paid in gold, as she believes that the nation went bankrupt when it left the gold standard.
Oh,
Indeed.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Paid in
Wow.
gold.
So last little bit, this is from one of his seminars, he predicted his own death saying, quote, I don't want to have to kill anybody, but if they keep messing with me, that's what it's going to have to come to.
Okay.
That's what it's going to come down to if I'm going to have to kill. And if I have to kill one that I'm not going to be able to stop, I just know it.
The self-awareness.
That is horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these things escalate.
Yeah.
And they start really stupid and dumb, but then there can be really awful real world consequences and people die for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
Well, when
your
there's-
crazy uncle is not always just a crazy uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Anything with that much disinformation and also just like fervor behind it is going to end in violence no
Sooner or
matter
later.
what.
Push will come to shove.
Yeah.
Well, we'll kind of get to it in my case too, but like this movement had such a resurgence when people were really fucking financially vulnerable and desperate, and it just like took the fuck over. So
It's just
That's
as
when
bad
it,
as
like-
the leggings.
That's when it
Yeah.
like bubbles
Oh, yeah.
up. Leggings.
LuLaRoe,
Oh yeah.
the MLM. Yep.
But yeah, looking back through all like every time this bubbles up in like popular culture, it's always when there's a financial crisis.
I mean, Hertzer's trying to.
Oh, yes, I couldn't understand.
Hertzer's trying to.
Yep.
We need burger for the warmer partner.
Wow, that's horrifying.
Yep.
Yep.
Good
Great.
work.
Way to go, Kenyon. Look what you've done.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Well, should we hear a quick word from our sponsors and then round it out with my little juicy tidbits?
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
So, April is Earth Month, so we should all be thinking about ways that we can be more sustainable without, like, sacrificing what brings us joy.
Yes.
And comfort. Comfort and joy.
Comfort and convenience. And one of those things for me is Rothy's. So I used to be the person who like bought the cheapest pair of flats I could find, and then I would wear them out and they would turn disgusting within like 6 months.
Yeah.
And I'd need to buy a new pair and throw the old pair away. Like they couldn't even be donated. They were just gone. And Rothy's are completely different. They are so durably designed that you can keep them in your closet for longer, and you can even pop them in the washing machine when they need refreshing. I have owned the same pair of Rothy's for like
years.
6 years
Yeah.
now. That's incredible, and they still look and smell brand new.
Yeah, it's amazing. The washability is my favorite thing about Rothy's, and I will say they have so much more than just shoes. I have some Rothy's bags. I have Rothy's I have a makeup bag set from Rothy's, and my makeup gets so your makeup bag gets dirty, so that I can throw it in the wash. Like it blows my mind. It's so genius. But Lucy mentioned comfort and joy. The comfort in these shoes, they are so soft. I get blisters so easily, and I used to wear Rothy's flats to wait tables. Like 12-hour shift waiting tables I could do in my Rothy's flats. I'm so obsessed. And then after stinking them up at a shift all day, you pop them in the wash and they come out clean, good as new. They're so durable. They're so cute. There's like a different style for any season. So I have sneakers, I have the little like Chelsea boot, the point, the flat, the loafer. I mean, it's every kind of shoe that you would ever want. And all of Rothy's shoes and bags are, as Kenyon mentioned, sustainably made with their signature thread spun from single-use plastic bottles. So over 146 million bottles and counting that they take out of the ocean.
I love it.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And they have so many amazing colors for spring. They change things up seasonally, so you're going to want to check it out. Re-energize your spring looks with Rothy's vibrant shoes and bags in an irresistible range of bright hues. I am living for it.
For stylish and sustainable shoes, shop Rothy's. Get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/gals. That's ROTHYS.com/GALS. And treat the planet.
A traitor. Alrighty, you ready for my case? You ready for my case? So this case has everything, y'all. Psychics, UFOs, cruise ships.
Oh my God.
Conspiracy theories, and of course, the glue to tie it all together, sovereign citizens.
Partners.
I'd like to begin my case today with an excerpt from a 2019 article from the New York Times, as it paints an absolutely stunning picture of the story we are getting into today. And I do quote this article a lot. I loved it. It was so good. I highly recommend anybody read it. It's in my source notes on the website. Quote, one day in 2015, Barbara Lavender's husband returned from a UFO conference and handed her a business card. It bore a red theater curtain background, a vintage microphone, and golden white lettering that read, Sean David Morton, radio host, public speaker, author, director, screenwriter, actor.
Oh no!
He's got it all.
If you have more than 2 job titles on your business card,
Rethink your business card.
Evaluate. Look inward. The polymathic Mr. Morton, Jeff Lavender told his wife, was UFO royalty. Mr. Morton had spent years whisking ET-obsessed tourists to Area 51 for $99 a pop, then leveraged his following into stints on the wee hours conspiracy show Coast to Coast AM, which at one point...
That's a good radio
It's a good
show.
one. At one point was the nation's number 3 talk radio program.
I don't think it still exists. Well, it might.
I hope not.
It's bizarre.
It's all like alt-right conspiracy bullshit.
It's just crazy people who are up in the
4
middle of the
morning.
fucking night who want to talk about whatever.
UFOs and all kinds
Whatever
of weird
they
shit.
want.
Yeah,
It's
and I
awesome.
love a UFO, but still.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not
dabbled-
a Sleepless in Seattle Tom Hanks situation.
No, it's
No.
when all the crazy people come out and just want someone to talk to.
Correct. He dabbled in other fringe arts such as remote viewing and psychic predictions about earthquakes, elections, and the stock market. But by the time Mr. Lavender saw him speak in Southern California, Mr. Morton had shifted to something truly fantastical. Instant debt relief.
Yep.
Apply directly to the forehead.
Applied directly to the forehead. And what absolutely confirms how absurd and frankly stupid the far-right faction of America is, the same guy peddling UFO merch and Area 51 tours started hosting a workshop called, quote, The Sovereign Factor. The revolution starts with you. In this workshop, he leaned into sovereign citizen ideology to encourage vulnerable people with high debt to emancipate themselves from the U.S. government to break free of their financial hardships.
God, that's so gross.
It's very gross. In the description of his workshop, he says, quote, do you realize you are all considered incompetent wards of the state, residents, and the chattel property of the U.S. federal government until you declare your emancipation?
I declare
Bankruptcy! I didn't say it. I declared it. Learn all the secrets about how to get the government off your back and out of your life once and for all. He advertised an in-depth tutorial on the bond process that Lucy was talking about, which claimed that by submitting a specific set of papers, you could, quote, wipe out your mortgage, tax bills, and student loans, which, like, sign me the fuck up, Sean David Morton.
Absolutely. If it worked, I'd do it.
Yeah. This was obviously a very seductive offer, especially for folks like the Lavenders, who, like basically all average Americans, were still reeling from the 2008 housing crisis and the recession. They had also taken out a nearly $50,000 loan to help their son attend college. So, like, they had student loan debt as a family
Oh, man.
for their kid.
Yeah.
A loan that, after losing her job and maxing out their deferment, Mrs. Lavender defaulted on, leaving her with over $70,000 in debt. So with her husband all energized and excited about the opportunity to wipe that debt clean, she trusts him. That's her husband. She's intrigued and, like, ready to get on board. At this point, it's like, I'll try anything.
And
She's
wives can attend the seminar for free.
for free. So
Lucky
she's
me.
into it. Despite her, like, lingering reservations about a UFO expert at a UFO convention selling debt relief services. She's like, well,
I forgot
if
they
Mr.
started
Lavender-
at a UFO conference.
yes.
Lots
I
of
mean,
overlap.
I trust
As we said,
there's
lots
so
of
much
overlap.
The metaphysical community has so much weird alt-right shit in it. It's bizarre.
It really does. I went to the psychic, I go to the psychic fair every June. And without fail, there will be a booth about, like, 5G.
Always. It's the conspiracy theory shit. It's like such a short leap
It's a
from
very
one
short
topic
leap.
to the other. You got to be real careful
Yeah.
about that.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
crystals are a gateway drug to QAnon.
Give it to me.
Give it to me. So again, from the New York Times, quote, as the Lavenders came to discover, sovereign fraudsters are the snake oil salesmen of our time, peddling a bouquet of grifts as varied as tax fraud and real estate scams. They prey on our suspicion of institutions, financial literacy, greed, and despair. You don't even have to buy into sovereign dogma to get swindled. You just have to be, as Ms. Lavender was, in debt. From 1990 to 2013, far-right extremists carried out more than 600 financial schemes that resulted in criminal charges, according to the researchers who run the U.S. Extremist Financial Crime Database, which is affiliated with the National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism and Responses to Terrorism, and is the only clearinghouse of its kind.
Fun run.
And there were some figures that...
Foot race.
I saw some figures in my research that this had swindled, like, collectively across the United States and over X amount of years during this study, like over $6 billion from Americans.
Oh my God.
Just like this kind of, like, but that's including tax evasion scams, housing scams, like the whole umbrella of this, like,
Not just the seminars.
not the seminars. That's part of it, but like all of the fucking umbrella of the sovereign citizen financial scam bullshit.
And it's so
has
far
cost-
reaching. And that's
It's
got to be
huge.
just a really loose estimate because
Right.
who knows?
Right. So our boy Morton had been a scammer for a while. So like he knew what he was doing. He had spent years building a following within like the UFO and metaphysical community because also he's a psychic. Remember that?
Oh, who isn't?
Yep. He appeared on multiple television programs to discuss his proof of life beyond Earth, including ancient aliens. He also appeared on the Montel Williams show in the 90s, insisting we have been visited by hundreds of extraterrestrial life forms, and that he, quote, got close enough to one of these things that was floating around in the desert to actually get my face burned by it.
And that couldn't have been the sun.
One of these
Nope.
things.
We were in the desert.
He reminds
I don't
me
believe in
of
big SPF.
big SP,
Big screen,
big block.
big block.
He reminds me of the dad, the like crazy dad from Independence Day who like played by like Randy Quaid or whatever.
Yeah.
Who, like
With their
So
RVs like running through the
yeah, it's
desert.
RV.
Oh,
That's
God.
kinda,
That movie is flawless.
Timeless.
it's exquisite. It's exquisite. It's time for a rewatch. Actually, now
Yeah.
that I think of it,
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what I'm going to go do.
I
Yeah.
love that. So as he made waves in this community, he had his fair share of critics, but his fans didn't give a fuck. He was well aware of his abilities to influence people and had been using that to scam folks out of money since the 90s. This is an excerpt from Wikipedia. Quote, from 1996 to 2010, Morton ran Delphi Associates newsletter, also known as Dan,
No! All Dans.
a print and online publication in which he made economic, financial, and political predictions using his psychic abilities. So he's like putting out a zine
It's like a farmer's almanac, but
Yeah.
just this dude.
of his absolutely insane ramblings. In 2001, Morton predicted that the Dow Jones Industrial Average would rise to somewhere around 12,000 in December. The index actually ended at 8,341.
Close a nerve.
I also don't know enough about the Dow Jones Industrial Average to
Neither
even...
does he.
Yeah. Neither does anyone reading this shit, probably.
No.
No.
This guy's just making shit up,
Yeah.
putting it in his zine, and
Calling it a
people
day.
are believing it and giving him money
Jesus.
to invest on their behalf because he can see the future. In 2007, he founded the Delphi Investment Group to allow investors to profit from trading in world currencies based on his predictions. So I'm sure you can see from a mile away where that ends up going, and we'll get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Around the same time, likely in 2008, like the worst time for
Life.
all of us
To
financially.
graduate from college, okay.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. The most unprecedented times.
Fuck.
So around 2008, he meets another sovereign citizen spokesperson named Brandon Adams. Brandon brought legitimacy to his money-making claims because his family ran a tax prep business. So he claimed to know the ins and outs of filing your taxes and how to really screw the federal government out of funds by way of huge tax returns and miscellaneous documents that you file with your taxes, essentially like excusing you, getting all these write-offs and excusing you from certain payments. He insisted that the government, through the privatized banks, was discreetly skimming funds off the top of every single transaction we made, which, like, isn't that just taxes?
Yeah, that's called a sales
And-
tax.
Yeah. And he advised his followers to file a specific form, a 1099 OID for the tax nerds. I didn't look into it.
No.
And that they could then reclaim the funds that the government was skimming off the top.
That,
And
basically.
yeah. And I have to imagine that this was also kind of muddled in with what Lucy was talking about, where like at birth, these, you know, funds are set aside per person and here's how you can access them and blah, blah, blah.
And also, like, is that not Social Security?
I mean,
or, like, way tied in with it? I don't know.
but like Kenyon said earlier, like the more you present reason with the intention of sowing doubt with logic,
Oh, yeah.
the more that emboldens like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what they want you to think it is, but it's actually this, you know? People just get so sucked into this shit.
So dumb.
So Sean David was sitting in one of these presentations and asked Brandon if he had seen big refund results through this loophole. And Brandon confidently claimed that he himself had gotten refunds of up to $250,000 with this method. So again, from the New York Times, quote, the audience lapped it up. This was America during the financial crisis. The banks had been bailed out, but not homeowners, and the era of Tea Party rallies and Occupy Wall Street encampments was imminent. It wasn't too much of a leap to suspect that Washington was in cahoots with the likes of J.P. Morgan.
Well, it is.
Because it is. It's so annoying when
But
it's
not
like,
this way.
you're so close.
Yeah.
You're so close.
People who like defend conspiracy theories and like, oh, like Tonkin Bay or like the Tuskegee experiments and all that stuff. And it's like, well,
To be
yes,
fair,
there's a huge range.
there's legitimacy to a lot
There
of
is a
these.
legitimacy to a lot of it. And how can you argue against someone who's like, well, what's the difference between that and lizard people with
Right. It just
silver
really
eyes
spirals.
running
It
for
just really
president?
spirals.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
So Mr. Adams' living temple talks drew large enough crowds that he moved to a bigger venue and sold private coaching for $200 an hour. It became a movement, really, Mr. Morton said. Morton and his wife, Melissa, who we'll get to her, followed these instructions, and lo and behold, it actually worked, granting them over $400,000 in tax return money after filing 3 years' worth of their taxes.
Damn it.
But it wasn't like they filed legally. So, the loophole, quote unquote, worked if you lie on
If
your
it's
taxes.
fraud, yeah.
If it's fraud, that's not a loophole. It's fraud,
Yeah.
bitch. But this huge deposit wouldn't be enough to get them out of the trouble they were about to be in with the federal government. All of his years of promoting his stock market predictions had brought in over 100 excited investors ready to harness his psychic powers to strike it rich.
Oh, honey, no.
Oh, they did. People from all over the country were investing with Delphi Investment Group, collectively handing over about $6 million to Sean David Morton, of which Sean David actually invested barely half of it, funneling the remainder into a quote-unquote nonprofit that was set up by, gasp, the Mortons,
Weird.
as well as multiple unreported offshore accounts. So they're just stealing people's money at this point. As the government was closing in on them, the Mortons filed for bankruptcy, but this would certainly not be enough to keep them out of trouble. On March 7th, 2010, Morton and his wife, Melissa, are charged with civil securities fraud, and though they were ordered to pay hefty fines like $11 million or something cuckoo bananas, they didn't get jail time and were still free to continue pursuing money-making schemes. Quote, it was around this time that the Mortons turned to hawking the debt-erasing sovereign scheme known as the bond process that we talked about earlier. Over 2 years, they helped people around the country send nearly 24 fake bonds to the IRS, Quicken Loans, PennyMac, Bank of America, Chase Bank, and the Treasurer's Office in Contra Costa County, California. One of these excited participants was our friends, the Lavenders, who were struggling with that $70,000 student loan debt. So Sean David assured Ms. Lavender, the debt was specifically under her name, that he could get the debt wiped out for her for the low price of about $2,500 or about 4% of the debt that she owed as a whole as his fee.
Look, if somebody told me to type up something in Wingdings and print it out and send it over to Chase Bank and then I wouldn't have to pay back my student loans,
I'd try it, but he offered to type up the Wingdings for her and charge her $2,500 for it.
Yeah.
But I'll send Wingdings.
Yeah, if it's free.
Yeah, I think I have a photo on the drive of what this fake bond thing that he made looks like, and it definitely is like a template, like a border template in old versions of Microsoft Word. And he just printed it on computer paper, but whatever.
Oh my God, amazing. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
At a glance, I could see how it could almost appear legitimate, but if you look any harder at it...
He's also a Nigerian prince, but we'll get to it.
These look like those certificates that I made for us for the first reunion.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it didn't, I'm surprised it doesn't have like a little teddy bear sheriff
I
in
was
the
gonna
corner.
say
It's
it looks like a daycare graduation
Volunteer.
certificate, but if you
A
only
little
have
bear
black and
with,
white
with like
printer
a
ink.
sheriff's hat on it.
Totally tough, but you ran out of color ink, so now you have to just do it in black and white.
It's like sad.
It's not good.
It starts to like scan out at the end, like you're running
Oh,
out
they
of
were
ink.
running out of ink. The federal government can't afford ink.
No.
So she sent him that fee, and in return, he provided her with a quote-unquote bond that quote-unquote appeared to be authentic, but he had just created it on a computer and printed it at home, and that's the picture of it.
Yeah.
Quote, the accompanying paperwork that came with the bond said that the student loan company was entitled to be paid back from a fund that, in reality, the United States taps to help stabilize foreign currencies. Mr. Morton said he warned Ms. Lavender, look, I don't know if this is going to work. I'm not a lawyer. It's all going to depend.
We know.
Well, yeah. He says it's all going to depend on whether or not they accept it.
Yeah.
That's, yep. At least he was honest.
That's
That's kind of the
paperwork.
point.
That's,
Oh my
yep.
God.
It's the paper terrorism. Like, let's send all this shit that looks like it might be worth looking into.
And it seems like legal jargon, but it's just bullshit.
it's just bullshit.
And people pass it around of trying to figure
Yep.
out if someone knows what the fuck this means. It just got add to pile after pile after pile.
Mhm. But alas, months go by with the Lavenders incessantly refreshing their like online loan portal to check their account balance because he told them like in the next month or so that balance is just going to be at zero.
Yeah.
And it just continues to boldly read $70,000
Plus
and it's
interest.
probably
and
accumulating
up, yeah.
interest. Yeah, because it was originally $50,000. So now it's from the defaulting, it's already accumulated $20,000 in penalties and interest. And it's still just sitting there not being paid. They slowly begin to realize that they've been scammed. Sean David ghosts them completely, won't respond to any of their correspondence. And not long after this grift went down, Mrs. Lavender's husband, who brought this idea home in the first place, suddenly passed away, leaving her alone with the debt that she had so desperately tried to clear.
It wasn't even her fault. She didn't bring home that business card.
I know. It's really fucking sad.
Well, she fell for it. And she married the guy who fell for it.
Oh, for sure. But it still sucks.
I mean, she's a victim, but like,
Yeah. Yes, and. Yeah. So years go by with the Mortons running their grifts, specifically tapping into the UFO and metaphysical community that is, as we mentioned, wrought with like alt-right, sovereign citizen, and QAnon conspiracy bullshit.
All sorts of conspiracy shit.
Really fucking
don't
weird.
sully my UFOs. Like the UFO thing makes sense.
I also love.
I know.
I and believe in.
I'm not
UFOs.
saying you don't sully. I'm saying
Hello.
these fuckers
Yeah,
don't
these
sully.
fuckers. Yeah, we are metaphysical UFO
I
loving.
love my
quens.
crystals. I love my aliens. Just leave
Yeah.
me alone.
Yeah, we just have to be real careful not to go too far down the rabbit hole.
Promises of instant debt relief should be flagged.
That's a red flag.
Mhm.
Yeah. Sean David had continued to build a following, giving workshops and presentations all over the country. So when the 2016 Conspiracy SEA cruise was announced, this is a real cruise on a cruise ship called Conspiracy.
No.
Yeah, which happened in 2016. It's real. Sean David leapt at the opportunity to be a presenter on this cruise.
I want to be
about
a presenter on this cruise.
Me too.
I have thoughts.
except I feel like if there's any cruise where like we're for sure gonna get murdered,
Oh.
it's the Conspiracy cruise of 2016.
We would not be popular.
No.
I mean, and they'd get away with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Maritime
you
law.
can murder with impunity on a cruise.
on a cruise ship, on a ghost ship.
Mm-hmm.
This was explained, quote, about 100 guests on board paid $3,000 each for what was marketed as the Conspiracy Cruise, a week-long jaunt through Mexican waters and American paranoia, from vaccinations, do you really know what's coming through that needle, to conspiracy to steal your body and soul. These are the kinds of presentations that were happening on this cruise ship.
Wow.
So Sean David joined in as a presenter, giving a workshop called From Fascism to Freedom.
And back to fascism.
And then
And
right
back again.
back to fascism. And back again.
Back to fascism.
The Sean
your
David
host, John David
Booter
Booter.
story. John David Booter. The whole time I was writing this, I was like, John David Booter the whole time. Love that podcast.
John David Booter.
John David Booter. So that once again focused on how to release yourself from debts through federal loopholes and bonds and et cetera, using the government's own tactics against them in some cases. What the Mortons didn't know is that the IRS had been following their antics since their previous fraud charges, tracking their sketchy tax filings and their distribution of fake debt clearing bonds to desperate customers. And with the Mortons isolated on a cruise ship, the federal government had the perfect opportunity to corner them and bring them to justice.
Does the IRS have boats?
No, but as they docked, they knew they were going on the ship.
The
let them have-
SSIRS.
I wish. Let them have their last hurrah conspiracy vacation. And then when they docked back in I have to assume Florida.
Once you finish your pina colada, then we'll arrest
Your
you.
peanut color.
Yep. Literally, they're getting off the ship after 2 weeks with their little bags and immediately arrested when they get on land. Fucking bye-bye.
They're rolling suitcases.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't want to be on the conspiracy cruise. I realize
I want to be at the dock.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to be an employee on the conspiracy
No,
cruise.
I don't want to be on it
tip.
at all. It's too risky. I want to be on the dock
You know,
with little
none of them
microphones.
believe in tipping.
No.
Yeah,
Should we
the,
do
the
a
experience
live-
is tip enough.
Should we do a live from the dock live show where we just commentate on all these nut jobs getting off of this fucking conspiracy cruise? I fucking can't.
It's a podcast on plan.
Yeah. So the two of them are tried separately, with Mrs. Morton's defense team leaning into good faith arguments. Her team said, quote, she was under the thrall of sovereign gurus and people who kind of strutted back and forth on the stage with an answer for everything. So she was just swept away in this whole thing. Her legal team showed the jury 37 pages of perfect cursive notes that Ms. Norton had taken at a Brandon Adams lecture.
Well, if she writes in perfect cursive, then
She can't be guilty. He said in his statement, quote, in this courtroom, it's obviously nonsense, but at that time, people believed it, and Melissa Morton believed it. Melissa Morton was found guilty for fraud and all this fucking shit and sentenced to 2 years in prison and ordered to pay over $400,000 back to the federal government. Sean David brilliantly decided to represent himself.
It always works.
It always works. It's going to go perfectly. In the courtroom, he declared in his opening statement, quote, I'm not a rapist, a thug, a war criminal. I didn't run a Nazi concentration camp and murder millions of children. That's in his opening statement. I'm not that bad.
Some public defender is looking through the charges, shit, do I have the right? Am I in the right room?
There was no public defender. He
His
represented
lawyer just
himself.
quietly slinks out.
He literally didn't have a lawyer.
Of course.
There's no lawyer to ditch him. He represented himself, which is how his opening statement could be so
Oh, I
unhinged.
took that to mean he just took the stand in his own defense.
No,
This
honey.
is way worse.
Of course, he represented
He-
himself.
Yes.
I should have guessed.
Well, you can't trust lawyers. They're
No.
foreign actors.
It worked for the government.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, they don't work for the government.
Well, whatever. I don't know what these
They're
fuckers
foreign
think about.
actors.
Fine, whatever.
Right.
So he leaned into sovereign citizen ideology, and this is my favorite part, you guys. Asked the prosecution. Oh, wait, no, this is not my favorite part, but my favorite part's coming. Asked the prosecution's tax expert during cross-examination, are you familiar with the bankruptcy of the United States in 1933?
There we go. There it is.
To which the expert simply replied, no, I'm not. Once again from the New York Times, this is my favorite part, and Lucy's going to love this. During his closing argument on the trial's fourth day, Mr. Morton told the jury about the Norwegian forest cats.
Oh,
That he cats.
oh, it's a breed. Beautiful.
It's a breed
I
of
thought
cat.
Ray was a part, but he's not. I got him DNA tested.
Yup, and he and Melissa have, I think, had these cats in the past.
They're
These very
beautiful.
expensive cats.
Very energetic.
earlier in the
long
week.
coats.
Okay.
Yep. He said he and his wife had tried to save a premature kitten. They stayed up late, swaddled her in cloth, fed her milk with an eyedropper.
Milk?
The kitten died anyway.
Saying all this in court?
Yes, in his closing argument. Ask yourselves.
We're getting to the point.
Ask yourselves, he implored the jurors. Do you send these nice people who care for kittens and raise cats to jail forever? That was in his closing argument.
Forever.
The panel deliberated for 2 hours.
Most of which was
means-
spent Googling Norwegian forest
Right.
cat.
Oh my God.
Whatever
Worth
a
it
jury
every time.
Whenever a jury deliberates for 2 hours in a case like this, I'm like, nah, 5 minutes and a long lunch on the company dime. That's what they knew immediately
Oh,
this
yeah.
guy was fucking guilty.
And who can blame them?
I would take that long lunch. You're forcing me to be here. I'm getting a lunch.
And it's a free lunch.
Yep. When they returned, Ms. Morton greeted them with a hopeful smile in the courtroom. The verdict, guilty on all counts. She fainted right there in the court.
Oh no.
Melissa's a fucking idiot, whatever. Sean David was sentenced to 6 years in prison and was ordered to pay $480,322 in restitution to the International Revenue Service. He responded by filing sovereign documents with the court, including lawsuits against the prosecutors in this case.
Mm-hmm.
When this didn't work out, he went on the lam. I'll finish with this portion from the Southern Poverty Law Center, and buckle up because it is unhinged. It's like, of course you tried to use the Norwegian mountain cat defense.
Forest
and then did
cat?
this. Forest cat, sorry.
Ticket.
Forest.
Forrest.
Quote, Sean never showed up for his sentencing hearing on June 19th, 2017, choosing to go on the lam instead. During that time, he posted on Twitter, appeared on an internet radio show and a YouTube show, and went to watch the eclipse with his wife at Desert Hot Springs Resort and Spa.
Completely valid.
Yep.
That
Love an
sounds
eclipse.
amazing. How
I
come
know.
this
Sounds
guy
lovely.
gets to go to some desert resort and spa to watch the eclipse? And I'm
That's
over
probably the
here
highlight of his
paying my
life.
loans like an idiot.
Idiot. Yeah, we're fucking up. He had checked in under the name of a man who had the screen rights to his books. Oh, because he's also written a bunch of really unhinged books, and like they're all self-published, and the
Of
covers are
course.
hideous.
Of course.
Goes without saying.
So he checked in under the name W.M. Allen Pizzuto.
If
Alan.
you could pick any name, why would you? Why?
Well, it's the actual name of the person who had the screen rights to his book. So it's a real person. He's just using this person's name. And this person was he claimed to be a producer and photographer, and that I guess Morton and Melissa had exotic animals.
Of course.
And so this guy had
Besides the
previously had
cats?
this guy had previously had an altercation, this Alan Pizzuto guy, with one of Morton's pet tigers that temporarily lost him the use of his hand.
You don't have an altercation with a tiger. You get attacked by a tiger.
Accurate.
It's very
He had a
different.
disagreement.
He had a kerfuffle with a
Wait,
tiger.
little-
A
scuffle.
A little kerfuffle. Yeah, a little scuffle.
Tussle.
Despite the alias, IRS special agents tracked the couple down on August 21st, 2017.
An
So they were on the
altercation
lam
with
for about a month.
tiger.
Altercation with a tiger. Sean and Melissa, who violated the conditions of her bail, which stipulated that she have no contact with Sean, were arrested and taken into the custody of U.S. Marshals. They were brought back to face their sentences, and this little escapade earned them both an additional 5-year probation after their release, where they would be under the extremely watchful eye of the IRS.
Wow.
And that is my case.
Well done.
Jesus Christ.
I love how in the case that we recorded earlier today, I was like, oh yeah, and he was a bank robber, but we don't have time to get into it. And in your
A
case, you're like,
prolific
oh,
bank robber.
Oh, Annie owned exotic cats.
Oh yeah, he had a pet tiger. We don't have time.
The guy, yeah, we don't have time, you guys. But it like maybe bit someone's hand off, and then he stole that poor guy whose hand was bitten off, stole his identity to check into a hotel. I don't know.
Go
it's
watch
a lot.
the eclipse at a spa.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm under a lot of stress. He confronted the tiger, and then his car rolled 5 times, and I
There's a lot There's
lot
a
to
lot
unpack.
going
A lot of
on.
moving parts.
This was
Yeah.
a very dynamic episode.
Indeed, it was, and
I'm exhausted.
I'm exhausted.
I have to go to bed.
Paperwork to go file.
I gotta
Yep.
watch Independence Day and go to bed immediately.
Accurate.
Yep.
Accurate.
All right.
Thank you
well
for
done.
listening and sticking through this bullshit with us.
I love you all.
See you next week.
Bye bye.
Thanks for listening to Wine and Crime. Our cover art is by Kala Yip, music by Phil Young and Corey Wendell, editing by Jonathan Camp. Check out our website and blog at wineandcrimepodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Wine and Crime Pod. If you have questions, answers, or recommendations to share, email us at wineandcrimepodcast@gmail.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, basically wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And if you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. It is the best way to spread the word. If you'd like to show your support, visit our Patreon page to keep this podcast and the wine flowing. Cheers.